Welcome everyone. Kim Searle here, Emotional Mastery, and thank you for tuning into this interview that I'm doing with this lovely lady, Frances Taylor. And I came across Frances Taylor a little while ago on LinkedIn as I was preparing for the sleep month that March should have been. And Frances and I were going to do some work together and just be able to talk about what sleep does for us as human beings. Because I'm very much about the emotional content, sleep is vital to it. How often have you woken up in the morning having had a bad night and you're a bit snippy, bit irritating, bit irritated by the world? I know I am. I can be a bit short-tempered. And so it's very important to understand sleep in relation to who we are. So I want to say hello, Frances. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I really appreciate it.
Hello, Kim. It's a pleasure.
So just to start with, can you just explain to our audience who you are and what you do?
Yeah, well, I'm Frances Taylor and I'm the sleep fixer, and I work with high achieving people who realize that they need to address their sleep if they're going to do what they want to do in life. So I help them sleep well, I help them work well, and therefore live well. So it's kind of about the whole thing, as you said, Kim, sleep being a kind of foundation for everything else that we want to do in life.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, sleep has been very much in the news just of late, but clearly March was very much the theme that was out there. What do you think is suddenly so important? Because I mean, it's always been important, and even I've suddenly seen more news about it. What's happening?
I think sleep is now where stress was. I've been working in the wellbeing field for probably 15, 20 years. And when I first started working in businesses delivering stress management training, it was called then, it's now called more like resilience building, but it was still a little bit of a pink and fluffy, nice to have. Do we really need this kind of thing going on? Some people preferring to kind of pretend that stress in work or stress in individual lives didn't exist. Now, of course, we're much more wised up to the impact of stress on our health, our well-being, our performance, and it feels like we can now turn our attention to sleep. So I think it's just a gradual process of understanding what makes people well, and sleep coming slowly to the forefront. We've waited a long time for sleep to get the recognition that it deserves, but finally it's happening. And I think the other thing is that there's some really good clinical research studies out there now which really demonstrate to even the most skeptical people the importance of sleep to our mental health, emotional health, and physical health.
Yeah, and I know when I was doing my own research, I read a few people. I think Dr. Michael Burge, I can't remember. He's done a whole load of things. In fact, I've been watching a series of exercises and videos he's done. And you're right, there is a lot more out there. People understand more about the brain. I think in the last 20 years, neuroscience has just taken leaps and bounds about how we operate. So, I mean, a lot of people will not realise they've even got any sleep issues. What are the common ones that you do see, though?
I think you're right to say that some people don't realise that they're not sleeping as well as they might, because one of the things about sleep deprivation, of course, is that you kind of get used to being below par. You kind of get used to the you that doesn't feel great in the morning and struggles in the mornings, without a few shots of caffeine. So I think most sleep problems boil down to not having enough of it and not having the right kind of quality. So it's not really like there's a huge range of sleep problems unless you've got a medically related sleep problem. But it's the common things of not being able to get off to sleep quickly when you first get into bed, or maybe dropping off really easily, quite exhausted, but then waking up half an hour or an hour later and then not being able to get back to sleep. Or the third one is waking up too early before the alarm, but not being able to go back to sleep. And usually people have a combination of all those three. But basically not enough is the basic premise. Not enough good quality sleep.
I absolutely agree with you. I have I can't count how many people have suggested to me that they don't need much sleep. They can get by on 6 hours, or, occasionally less, but, usually about 6 hours, whereas I do need 8. And it's interesting how one of the videos I was watching, it wasn't Dr. Mike, it was somebody else, but he was saying that actually that builds up over time, that deficit, and it will catch up with you at some point. So people who believe that they are okay may not be. That's not to say they definitely won't be, because everybody's unique. But is that your understanding too, or is
yeah,
that?
definitely. And I think that's where the clinical studies come in. So, for example, if you have just 1 or 2 nights of poor sleep, maybe less than 5 hours, your blood pressure is raised. So if you replicate that over weeks and months, you're living with higher blood pressure than you might otherwise have. So you might be going to work and performing really well and believe in yourself that you're fully well, but in the background there's something going on that probably isn't right for your health. So I think this idea that I can get by on, Maggie Thatcher 4 hours sleep a night, yeah, maybe she could, and she believes she could, but that's not the whole picture. There's things happening to the body. It's putting a definite strain on the body. And actually, really, when you're on 4 hours every night, you're not really recuperating properly at night. Your decision making is going to be a little bit off, and there will be impacts, I think.
Yeah, because I think what people don't understand, that sleep isn't just about rest, is it? There's lots of other functions that go on in the body during this time.
Definitely.
Can you name a couple, just so that people can understand that there's more to it than just having your eyes shut?
Well, it's really interesting, because that's what the Victorians believed. They believed that when you went to sleep, like everything stopped, like it was closing down your computer or something, and then you woke up in the morning and off you went again. But now we know that, during the night, there's lots and lots of processes that go on. For example, every cell in the body has a little body clock, and there's certain times of hormones being released during sleep rather than during the daytime, so it can affect immune function. We know, for example, that sleep is necessary for good brain health. So a lot of toxins are removed from the brain during sleep. So that's why if you don't sleep well, your memory isn't as reliable, or you may find it harder to find the right words if you're trying to express yourself in a meeting. So learning and memory are really affected by lack of sleep, because we need that period during the night to sort of reboot systems, clear out systems, and consolidate learning and memory. And as I say, lots of physiological processes need that cycle of awake and sleep to maintain the optimum functioning.
Yeah. So that's interesting then. So, I mean, I'm one of those poor sleepers. So I get the high blood pressure bit. I also understand the memory bit, because when I'm really tired, I can't function. I get clumsy, is what is my first sign that I'm tired, is I get clumsy. There will be other signs, but I haven't noticed those. So that is interesting for me. But for somebody who is suffering with sleep issues over time, and they feel like they've tried everything, is there any advice or encouragement that you could give them to help them realise that it's okay? There are solutions. They just need to understand the cause.
Well, I think that's a lot of what my work's about, really. Is about bringing hope back to people who have lived for a long time with poor sleep, and they can, as I say, get used to how they feel. So you kind of become a shadow of your former self, but you don't appreciate that that's what's happening. I think you can also get quite hard on yourself. So I know people I've worked with get really cross with themselves, frustrated. Sleep's supposed to be natural, isn't it? Why can't I just do it?
Exactly.
And get kind of quite self-blaming. So I think the message of hope is that if you follow a comprehensive program that looks at all the different things that need to be in place for a good night's sleep, and they're very practical, then you can get your sleep turned around, and surprisingly quickly. So a lot of research has gone into cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, which is the foundation of my programs. And in my experience, within 3 sessions, people are noticing really good improvements to their sleep. And then after 5, they're fine. So it takes more effort than taking a sleeping pill. But of course, sleeping pills don't work forever, and they have other quite unpleasant side effects. But if you're prepared to put a little bit of effort in and to kind of, I don't know, not accept that you're a poor sleeper, to kind of challenge that a little bit in yourself, even if it's been going on for ages, then definitely that all the techniques we have now can return most people to really good sleep relatively quickly.
Oh,
So
wow.
I would say don't lie down and accept poor sleep. Get up and fight for your sleep.
Love it. I love it. I know one of the ones I was listening to, I think it might have been Dr. Michael. He turned around and said, actually, good sleep starts when you wake up. Oh, I was like, what? So do you believe in that? And if so, would you like to explain that a bit more?
Well, I think that's right. Good sleep in two ways, really. Good sleep starts when you decide that you're worth it and you're going to get it for yourself and you're not going to accept it. But it does, really good sleep isn't so much more about what you do when you get into bed. It's about how you lead your daily life. So there's a lot of things that we need to look at often about how you think about sleep, whether you actually do place the proper value on it, whether you do make space for it in your life. Whether you regard it as a nice to have or an essential. So there's kind of thinking around it, but there's also how you run your daily life. So, you run around like a Duracell bunny all day long, exhausted, not eating, bumping from meeting to meeting, not drinking, and then you get home maybe late and you expect to sleep. Well, I'm sorry, forget it. You have to you have to adapt habits, whether that's what you eat or when you exercise, how you manage your energy. All those habits during the day and into the evening will set you up to have the best possible chance for a good night's sleep.
Yeah, and I think one of the things he was talking about was having routines, and routines in the morning, because he was talking. He's taken the night owl and the lark, and he's broken them into four. I don't know that I necessarily get that, but it was right for me. But he was saying my type, which is probably a bit of a mix of the two, is that I need more vitamin D. I need to see more daylight, which is probably true. Do you know what I mean? But it's those routines that surround our day that is just as important. And I guess that's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah. Well, sleep thrives on routines. I mean, I often say to parents, you think about the effort you make when you've got a new baby to get that baby sleeping through the night. All you think about. You do the whole routine, don't you? The bath story. I can't remember the order now. Pajamas, and you really have a little structure that you get going. And then when it comes to us adults, somehow we think we can forget all that. So sleep thrives on consistency, which is obviously quite hard to achieve right now. And everyone needs a good dose of daylight. Whether you're a lark or an owl, we all need natural light to keep our body clocks in sync. And of course, the way we work, we're often under artificial light all day long, especially in winter. So that's a small thing that you can do to improve your ability to sleep, which is to get some natural rays.
That sounds like a good plan and a simple one. And for most people right at the moment, a bit of a challenge if they've not got a garden. I mean, are you finding any more people coming to you? Because obviously we've got a new way of working and living at the moment. Are there any tips that you can share with people that can help them right now?
Yeah, I think what I'm noticing is that obviously people have a lot of anxiety at the moment.
Yeah, I agree.
You've got the kids at home, they're not doing their exams, they're not at school, you've got that worry. Then some people have got financial worries and just, what's going to happen to my job. So I think when it comes to worrying, anxiety and worry and sleep, they just don't make good bedfellows, and so often what happens is, what keeps people awake at night is their mind spinning on, and at the moment there's a lot for the mind to spin on. So definitely I recommend confronting those worries. So finding a time during the daytime when it's light, when you can sit down with a cup of tea and maybe externalize all your concerns, write them out. Spend 20 minutes. I often say put a timer on your phone, then worry like mad for 20 minutes. Write all your worries out.
I remember that one when in training. Just have a worry hour. It didn't work for me, but I know it works for many people that they can focus just for 20 minutes.
I think externalizing, because otherwise, you either go to sleep and you start problem solving when you should be asleep, or you run yourself ragged. I mean, another another thing people do is to kind of keep themselves so busy they don't have any time to think about their worries. I definitely recommend sitting down and confronting them and checking in. What am I really worried about? Maybe doing it with your husband or wife if that's appropriate, and then seeing what you can do practically, and then putting it away. Just as if you have a little kid in the house and your little boy or girl wakes up in the middle of the night and says, I want my train set, you say, no, it's not time for your train set, it's time for sleep. And we have to do the same.
Yes.
Same to us. It's not time for you to worry in the middle of the night. No.
We need to be our own parent.
Yeah, we do have to parent out. Sleep needs parenting.
Oh wow, you're so right. I mean, I say I don't do the worry hour. I don't. I do journal though, so it's exactly the same. It's just that it's not timed. I'm not very good at being sort of timed, but I do actually do a lot of journaling. So
that's a great way of externalizing it, isn't it? Once you've written it down, I think there's some psychology that says once you've written something down, it's a bit like a shopping list or a to-do list. Your brain goes, all right, we're taking care of that. So the act of writing is very powerful.
Absolutely. One of the things that I very often give to my clients is the automatic letter writing exercise, which sort of combines what you're saying with what I'm saying. So, and it's the idea of connecting with at least three of your senses. If you have a candle going, it's 4. If you're chewing gum at the same time or eating something, 5. You're hitting all your senses at the same time. The data going in at that point is they're doing something about it. So because all these senses are just, as you know, just data collectors, and it just thinks, oh, something's happening. That's good.
Yeah,
I can rest on that. Phew.
Well, I think it takes discipline. You know, I mean, perhaps you and I, we kind of help other people with this stuff, but you know, I have to work. I'm sure you do. You know, it's not always easy to have these little daily routines, these disciplines. You know, I'm struggling to fit in certain things that I know do me good, and I'm kind of like still not into a rhythm yet. So I think the other thing is to cut ourselves a bit of slack and acknowledge we're adjusting, and don't expect it all to happen overnight. You know, we've got to take our time with it.
Yeah. So I do have a question, a personal one, if that's okay. So my sleep is very often disturbed with dreaming, and particularly in the not the early hours, but you know, sort of the between 4 and 6, and I have some crazy dreams. I've dreamt about, do you remember Thunderbirds? Thunderbirds, Hell's Angels, and a park. It progressed from there, but hey, so I've had that one. In recent days, one's about grubs, one's about churches. It's really bizarre, and I do feel they disturb my sleep. What's your take on dreams?
How do they disturb your sleep? Do you wake up in feeling uncomfortable, worried, or frightened?
My eyes get really tense.
As you're dreaming.
As I'm dreaming, I can feel it's like, oh my word.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're slightly waking up or something, maybe, and then you wake up.
Yeah, because I remember them. I mean, I can still remember those 3, which is interesting. I don't remember them all, but some of them I really do remember. And in my world, I usually think that that's the unconscious with a message for me, but I can't work out what any of those were.
Well, you're quite right. We all dream and we don't always remember them. There are different theories around the purpose of dreams. Some people just say it's the brain kind of sorting out its files and discarding stuff.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
Other theories are that your subconscious will take a situation you've been in and kind of play around with it to weave a story. Psychotherapists might work with dreams and say they are perhaps important to you, and you can do techniques like kind of analysing your dream in a bit more of a formal way by perhaps thinking about the characters involved. I think there's a balance to be struck. Sometimes we can freak ourselves out. You know, we've had a bad dream. Is that meaning something terribly significant and awful? Not always the case. I think I'm cautious with dreams. Sometimes I check in with mine and think, oh, there's something there. I think I'm more interested in the emotion that arises with a dream. You know, if I wake up feeling a bit sad, I think, well, probably there must be something going on in my life that I'm a bit sad about. Yeah, so I don't. Certainly because you dream about a situation, it doesn't mean it's going to happen. I just think it's just the brain using various sort of storylines as a vehicle to process stuff.
Thank you for that, because actually, on the whole, they're okay. There's one, I have some common ones that happen,
Yeah.
One of them is a lift that's going down and then suddenly just drops. And I'm like, oh. And in fact, in the one that happened the other day, it was like, oh, not again. And then it just suddenly skirts sideways and works its way through a car park. And I have no idea what that's all about. But clearly, on some level, the lift falling is some sort of fear or anxiety. But the fact that it was, oh, not again, and then it zooms off somewhere else, it's just, yeah, interesting. So thank you for that. I've come up with the answer for one of the others as well. So that's just through talking. How great.
Yeah, well, talking helps, doesn't it?
Always. It does, absolutely. So, I mean, sleep is such a big topic. We can't cover that all today. You know, the things that you can do for yourself, the ways that you can help people. But do you work online? I think that's an important one, right?
Yeah. No, I'm quite lucky because I mainly work by Zoom or phone, and I'm about to launch my Sleep Well Fundamentals online course. So, I like working like this, and it's practical. Not everybody has the time to come and see me physically, and also it means you can fit the sessions in at a time to suit you, as long as it's not the middle of the night when I'm asleep.
Nicely said. And how do people get hold of you, Frances? How do they get in touch?
Well, I've got a website, and I don't know if you can see behind me, I've got my blog. So sleepwell.today/blog is where you can find my blog, where I try and be very, very practical. And on my website, sleepwell.today, I have a 7-day better sleep challenge, which is an email a day with a practical step to make sure you've got all the basics in place.
Oh, I like that. That sounds good.
So yeah, people can get in touch via the website, sleepwell.today.
Okay, so before I let you go then, and we bring this call to an end, just a quick one. If there was one piece of advice that you think our listeners could adopt today that would help them the most, what would it be?
I think it would be to learn a really simple breathing exercise, really simple, that you can do when your mind fills with thoughts during the night, and just to, every time it happens, and you'll get better with it in time, every time you start thinking, just do some simple breathing in and breathing out. And you may take a while to get used to it, but it really does block out the thoughts and calms you down so you can sleep.
Yeah. I will 100% agree with that. Years ago, when I was going through my own stuff, I learnt the body scan.
Yeah, brilliant, also brilliant.
Yeah, and what it's doing is keeping your conscious mind busy, and it gets bored, and it's like, oh, okay.
You let your mind, it will just go wild. You have to train your mind.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, it's been awesome talking to you, and I want to say a big thank you for taking the time to chat to me. I really do appreciate that. I know we didn't make March, but I think there was certain other events that went on that just got in the way.
I think what that was. But no, it's been an absolute pleasure, Kim. Thank you so much for inviting me to talk to you. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much. So it's Kim Searle here, just saying thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that was useful. Please do reach out to Frances on sleepwell.today. She's got some great stuff to be looking at, and I love the idea of the challenge. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.